Hey guys, Don Hill here with another episode coming at you for our Tampa Bay Real Producers podcast that drops every Friday. Today, we have, of course, another real producer that we're going to be interviewing and diving in with you. This is the podcast made for real producers, by real producers, for people who want to be real producers. So we have Bill Yingling here today. Good to be here, man. I'm glad you can make it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no doubt. It's really our pleasure. Bill and his wife, Teresa, were featured as our team leaders. As you can see, this was our February of 2023 issue. You can see the spotlight right there with Bill and his wife, Teresa, the Yingling team. We like to talk more about like the backstory and the real story, but to get some of the numbers out of the way, Bill, I think last year when we featured you guys, what was it, over $26 million with you and your group, over 76 transactions that you guys did last year. And you were mentioning personally, you did a good chunk of that, so you're still out hustling, making it happen as an individual producer.
I am.
And you're also building a team at the same time with, would you say about 12 people now?
Yeah, we got 12 now.
Cool.
The goal is to have 20 by the end of this year and then 50 by the end of next year. So
we'll talk about that. You're in the building phase.
I'm in the scaling phase, absolutely.
You are.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, let's just start with a little bit about you and your background. So how did you grow up around here? If not, where? If so, we have been interviewing some locals from Tampa Bay recently. So we'll start with your background and how you got yourself even kind of interested in the real estate game.
Awesome. Well, I kind of grew up in a business. My dad was in commercial real estate pretty much his whole life. And I was actually in the business back in the 80s with him in the Orlando area. Grew up in Akron, Ohio, moved down to Florida when I was 15, and we moved to an area called Oviedo, Florida, which is a little northeast of Orlando.
I'm familiar with it, yep.
Yeah, and I got into the business probably when I was 19, and we did mostly like commercial office space leasing, commercial transactions, things of that nature, and It wasn't always a pleasant experience working with my dad.
I could imagine that would be tricky at times.
Yeah, especially at that age.
Right.
So, I thought I knew everything and I didn't.
Yep.
But from there I transitioned out of the real estate industry probably in the early 90s and got into the boat business. And I was involved in boat sales at a retail dealership level.
We talking like yachts or canoes?
Yeah, yacht. I was a yacht broker as
well.
And at one point I had my own yacht brokerage firm. So I've been in sales for pretty much my entire life.
Okay.
Other than a couple stints here and there in the banking industry, but for the most part I've always been in commission sales, so I wouldn't have it any other way.
How long did you say you were in the boating side again?
22 years.
Wow. Okay. And then is that the transition from that? Was that into back into residential real estate? That
was back into residential real estate. I was actually helping a guy run a couple dealerships over in Lakeland and over in Wildwood, which is a little south of Ocala.
Yep.
And I live in Gulf Harbors, so I was making
that's a commute.
two hours each way.
Right.
So I was spending 4 hours a day on I-75, and in 2017 I actually had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And
I could see the traffic would give me a heart attack too.
Yes.
For 4 hours a day.
Yes. So I kind of just had that aha moment and decided, you know what, life is way too short. I want to do something that I'm passionate about, something that I really enjoy. So I decided to get into the stress-free business of real estate.
And I laugh about that, as I'm sure other people are right now too, right?
Right.
That's hilarious. Have you found it to be stress-free since you switched careers?
No, it's just a different type of stress.
Right.
It's definitely different for sure. But I feel great. My health has been good. Haven't really had any episodes. I did have a second one like the year later.
Wow.
But since then, everything's been pretty darn good.
This was what years was that again?
2017 and 2018.
Okay, good. So you've been pumping strong for 5 years now, it seems like.
Yep.
That's
I've
good.
got 3 stints in me, and it's just, it's amazing, the miracles of modern technology.
Yeah, my father actually had a heart attack when he was young, in his late 50s.
Yeah.
And this was back in the late 80s now. But I was a kid. I was like 7 years old at the time. I remember what he went through. He had a triple bypass at the time. And, thankfully he has passed away now, but not from that. He passed away when he was 70 from cancer. But ever since that triple bypass, I mean, he never really had any other heart issues after that. So it is amazing what can happen with today's medical, miracles that are out there. But I'm glad to see that you're doing well.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully you'll stay that way here for many years to come.
Knock on wood, right?
Yeah, and we have a great desk to do that on here, and for sure. So I'm curious, what did you find, what are the biggest differences between the boating business and what you do now in the real estate game? Do you love the real estate that much more? Are there things that you miss about the boating side of things? I'm curious the distinction between those two businesses. What's been your experience with that?
So my wife and I moved over to Gulf Harbors. We wanted to live on the water, so that was our end game, was to do it while we still could.
Yeah.
So we have a boat, and we enjoy that lifestyle. We always have. The differences really are, it's sales is sales is sales.
Sure.
At the end of the day. However, I'm not just, and I tell my agents this all the time, and any time I'm teaching a class or something like that, I just say, I'm not interested in real estate. I'm not passionate about it. I am 110% obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love the business. Not that I didn't enjoy the boating industry, but after the market crash in 08, 09, it was pretty brutal because, the luxury items are the first ones to go. And, if you think the real estate market tanked, the boat business really tanked.
Yep.
But I made it through that. And, I got back into the real estate industry back in 18. So I just love helping people. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not, and most brokerages are, they're very agent-centric, and they're all about the agent, where Berkshire's a little different is they're very client-focused.
Yeah.
And, and my philosophy is if you take care of the client, the agents are going to get taken care of anyways. And the support that we get from corporate is just incredible. I love it there.
Have you been with Berkshire since you got licensed in 2018?
No, actually, I started with KW.
Okay.
I was on a team over there for a couple years and learned a lot. And when it's a funny story because my wife was in the healthcare field for 35 years. She was physical therapy assistant.
Okay.
And she did home health care. And when I got back into real estate in 18, she would help me do open houses and stuff, just kind of like help me set up and do all that. And she kind of liked it. So jokingly, I said, well, why don't you get your license? And she did. And she got her license at the end of 2019. Mm-hmm. She actually quit her job and joined the team that I was on at KW. And then COVID hit.
Okay. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. So we had like no safety net, and at that point in time, I mean, I'm just being totally transparent here. I looked at my 1099 and I was just like, holy moly, I made this guy a lot of money last year.
Yeah.
I've got to do something different here.
Yeah.
And so that was when we kind of made the decision to jump over to Berkshire, and we started our team on May the 8th of 2020.
Makes sense.
Right smack dab in the middle of a global pandemic.
Yeah, no better way to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you said they've really been great in terms of supporting your business from day one, and it seems like you really are happy there.
Yeah, we love it. And it's a funny game because real estate agents switch brokerages all the time.
Yes, they do.
And the thing is, they think the grass is always greener, and I'm always telling people, where the grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah.
So you really have to stick it out. You have to have that grit and that determination. And yes, people will come along, and I get offers every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I could probably go somewhere else and make more money, but at the end of the day, I'd probably be spending more money too.
Yeah.
Just in the marketing support and stuff that I would be lacking anywhere else.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So we enjoy it.
You bring up a couple good points, Bill. I'm curious for people that you will watch this episode who maybe are even thinking about switching brokerages or are figuring out, maybe they're even new and figuring out what brokerage they want to go with. In your experience, what do you think are some of the most important things someone should look for in choosing a brokerage?
Well, they're all going to tell you they have the greatest training. And for the most part, the larger ones will have a good training process and some classes and things of that nature. I think what was the most important thing for me was when we went to Berkshire, and we needed some help, like from our broker, or if I needed a question answered, they were just readily accessible. There's some brokers that if you have a question, they may not get back to you for 3 days.
Right.
And I don't need an answer in 3 days. I need one like right now.
Right.
So, just that actual support is super important. But really the culture is what makes it, great where we're at, because everybody really has a genuine interest in your success. And we pass that along, and we pass it through to the other agents, the newer agents that are coming in. Like just this morning, I was talking to a new agent in our office, and he still works in the restaurant industry. And, we were just kind of chatting, and I said, here's what you need to do. If you ever, once you get your first deal, use a transaction coordinator.
Yep.
And I gave him the name and contact info of my transaction coordinator. And, it's not like I'm asking for him for something in return.
Right. Just giving back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm really passionate about training, coaching, and just helping people, not be a statistic, because generally speaking, I think the most recent NAR stat is 87% are out after 2 years. So
yeah, I mean, I know even you hear us talk about these stats sometimes with Real Producers. There was over 15,000 agents last year who did at least one deal, and that's out of over 25,000 that at least have a license, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of agents out there who didn't even do a single deal last year, and not that one deal makes you a producer. But, when you look at those 15,000 who actually did a deal, a vast majority of them did less than 5, right?
Yep.
So to be a real producer, is somebody who averaged 62 transactions last year. If you look at the data, there's a real distinction there, and it's about taking the business seriously, committing to it, building systems like you've done, and we'll talk more about some of the strategies that have helped you in building your business. But I love the fact that you have the mentality and the attitude of wanting to give, and help.
Absolutely.
Because I have found that to be fairly common with a lot of the real producers that I've been blessed to interview. And, I think sometimes in real estate, people think the opposite. That everybody is cutthroat, everybody's out for themselves, no one really cares about the other agents. And that's probably is true for some agents, at least the ones that I think that aren't very successful. But the ones who are, at least in my experience, have a very similar mentality, and attitude to what you've laid out. So I think it's cool to hear that. I'm curious. I'd like to go back a little bit to your background in commercial in the 80s. Do you do that now? Is that a part at all of your business today? And if not, do you have a preference? Are there things that you miss at all about the commercial side that you might want to do again? Or do you love the residential side that much more? And if so, why?
Well, and that's a great question, because most residential agents don't do commercial, and most commercial agents don't do residential.
Right.
So it kind of goes both ways. But no, I still do commercial. It's not a huge part of my business model, but I've sold some buildings over the past couple years to different clients, and right now I've got 3 commercial deals that I'm working on, mostly leases. But yeah, it's funny because I had a really, really good meeting with a client yesterday that was a referral, and they've got a up and coming restaurant that they just had all kinds of issues with, the location that they're at. And I love being able to help people out like that, just take them to that next level. Because we didn't just talk about space. We talked about, eventually I'd like to see you buy something, and help you build your wealth up. Because again, that's what it's all about. It's about helping people level up. And these are young kids. They're probably in their 20s, and they've got a really successful restaurant right now with a huge following up in Pasco, and it's just going to be awesome.
What restaurant is that? We can throw them a plug.
I'd rather not say at this point. I have to do an NDA on that. I can't really say, but
got you.
Yeah, it's awesome, Bo. When I got done meeting with them, I was like, man, this is just great. I love doing this. So.
Yeah,
So,
man.
yeah,
I think it's great that you have the option to be able to add that value, because not a lot of agents, as you says, maybe they don't want to or don't have the know-how to even have that conversation. So it just speaks again to what you can bring to the table that's unique, right? That other agents aren't really able to do. I think it's awesome that you can do both.
Yeah, no, it is. It's nice to have that flexibility.
Yeah, no, for sure. So when you got licensed again, right, in 2018, it seems like you've been a hustler individually every year. The numbers that I threw out earlier, was that your best year since you got licensed in 2018?
Yes.
It was, okay.
Yes.
And so has the intent always been to build a team from the beginning? Did that happen or change down the road? How has that evolved?
So, yeah, that's definitely been a work in progress. I think when I first got back into the business, I really didn't know a lot about residential to begin with. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of learning to do, which I did. I didn't really have the intent of starting a team, but when my wife jumped and we had no plan B, it kind of made sense. And what happened, it kind of happened organically at the beginning, because the team that I was on, some of the agents on the team would call me with questions, about contracts or how do you do this? What should I do here? And they eventually kind of migrated over and they joined our team at Berkshire. It's, again, because of the learning process, we didn't really know what the heck we were doing when we started the team. Honestly, we didn't. I mean, we had no systems, we had no processes. It was just like we were taking people who just wanted to be on the team.
Right.
And from there, it just kind of like it grew in terms of, okay, how do I really do this the right way?
Yeah.
And I got involved with Tom Ferry Coaching, so I'm in their elite coaching program, and I've been in that for going on 2 years now. My coach has really helped me a lot with that.
That's cool.
And it's mostly systems and processes.
Yep.
And the execution of them.
I've heard great things about it. I'm not completely familiar with all of his specific systems and processes, but I heard some great things about the Tom Ferry programs from many agents now.
Yeah. And the other funny thing is that, again, this kind of goes back to the culture at our office. When Teresa and I started the team, it was just she and I. But we reached out to some of the top producing agents, within the company.
Yeah.
And we would take them to dinner, take them to lunch, go to coffee or whatever, and just kind of pick their brains a little bit. And they were totally open with us. Mm-hmm. And so we, little by little, started implementing, some of the systems and processes that they were using to, that helped get them where they were.
Yep.
And it just kind of grew from there. So I'm a huge proponent of hanging out with people that are more successful than myself, because that's how you learn.
Absolutely.
And, it's like mindset is a huge part of this business. I mean, it's probably the number one factor, without a doubt. And just learning all of this and having that positive mindset and having a growth mindset, and not being a victim.
Yeah.
You gotta, there is no limitation on what we can do. And my wife thinks I'm crazy, but kind of, I know I've kind of gone on about this, but so, now my goal is by the end of this year.
Most wives think their husbands are crazy.
Well, she really does, because I keep upping the number of agents I want to bring to the team. At first it was like 10, and now it's 20 by the end of this year, and then by the end of 24 we want to have 50, and who knows from there. I mean, 100, 200, 300, right. And it's
have a limit, right?
Exactly.
See what happens.
Exactly.
So it sounds like you're enjoying the process of building a team. I'm sure you don't enjoy everything about it, but what have you learned so far for people that might be interested in building their own team one day, or maybe they already are and they're going through it right now, like you? What are some of the things that come to mind that you've learned about it that have been challenges, some failures maybe that you've had, or some things that have been wins? Things that have gone really well. What comes to mind?
And I wish I had like the answer to that question, but I will say this: just dealing with the different personalities, and I'm an extremely highly driven person. So I mean, most of the production since we started the team has been me.
Yeah.
And
It's a good thing to lead by example, I would think.
It is, but it's also a bad thing because my expectation is if someone's coming onto the team, I expect them to be a little mini me,
Right.
and have the same kind of attitude and
Drive.
and that's not the case.
Right.
I'm a firm believer in Pareto's principle. I don't know, the 80-20 rule.
80-20, yeah.
In real estate, it's really closer to 90-10.
Yep.
10% of the
Real
agents.
Producers is built on that.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Right.
it's identifying that 10 percentile that you think is really going to be a baller agent and is just going to go out there and hustle and do what you would do. It's hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard to accept that people aren't doing that, right? But it's also part of the process because I realize, okay, I've got to train them up, I've got to coach them up. And guess what? I have to have a great culture in order for them to stay. So
Right.
it's a constant struggle. It really is. But I think we're dialing it in more. We've got just a really unprecedented compensation package, for the team members that are with us. Because, again, that was one thing I learned. If I want someone to stay on the team, I've got to be able to make sure that they're
Got to pay them right.
Yeah. They got to earn what they're worth, and
It's got to be attractive enough to keep them too.
Yeah, yeah, and so many teams are like a revolving door because you have people come in and go out, come in and go out. I don't want that. I'd much rather have retention, and I would build. We're building upon the fact, hey, this is kind of ground level, because once we get to where I'm potentially wanting to take this team to, there's a lot of room for opportunity and growth.
Are there any specific qualities, Bill, that you look for now when you're trying to interview and look for people that you would consider to be a part of your team? Anything that you've learned that you can well define? This is what I'm looking for in somebody I'd want to be a part of the team. What comes to mind?
Well, I think attitude really is, and it's so hard, because you can interview them and you can dig deep, and I use a disc test and I use a grit test on all the potential applicants, and I have conversations with them. There's 4 reasons why someone wants to join a team. They want leads, they want training, they want coaching, and they want culture.
Yep.
For the most part,
Leads, training,
coaching,
culture. Makes sense.
Yeah. And the culture is something that is huge, but and it's a big factor in that. But most agents who get their license, that okay, how many leads am I going to get?
Yeah.
And if they start off the conversation like that, well, hold on a second, you haven't even earned that right yet.
Right.
We pay a lot of money for these.
Yeah.
And if we're going to give you leads, we want you to be able to use our systems and processes
And do something with them.
and convert them.
Right. Of course.
So, and so that's like the biggest thing. We do a 90-day probationary period for everybody, but for the most part, I'm not a micromanager by any means. I guess maybe that might be a weak point, but starting out, I don't want anybody to have any limitations.
Right.
I really don't. So we don't pigeonhole an agent into a buyer's agent or a listing agent or showing agent or any of that. We kind of groom them and figure out, okay, what is their strong points and what is their weak points, and the weak points we try to leverage out anyways. So we're all about leveraging with transaction coordinators, marketing people. We've got an admin that does a fantastic job on our back end stuff. We just got Follow Up Boss CRM about a month and a half ago.
I've heard good things about that CRM as well. There's so many different CRMs out there, but
there
I've heard it's a
are,
good one.
yeah. And that was definitely, it was something that and again, I got that from just several of the people that are running really, really successful teams.
Yeah.
Saying you got to do this, you got to do that. And, most people won't do it.
Right.
So we're actually doing it, and yeah, it kind of sucks because there is a huge learning curve to it to implementing all this. But just like Chat GPT and all these other things, and as an agent, you constantly are bombarded by shiny objects.
Yeah.
I mean, every single day,
And it never ends.
It never ends. It's like, use this, do this, and it's like and I tell my coach sometimes jokingly, if I went to every single event and did everything that you said that I should do, I would never have time to work.
Right. Totally.
So, it's always about picking and choosing the
Got
things.
a time block, you got to have a game plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In your experience, Bill, what do you think are the most important habits, or maybe it's a specific system that's really been a game changer, for you and your business and how you operate? Anything that you think there would benefit an agent who maybe is struggling out there and just trying to figure it out, right? Figure out what they need to do different to be able to start getting the type of business that they envisioned when they came into the game. What are some of the things that you think are the most important habits to be embracing, systems that they should be investing in or looking at? What has worked really best for you?
Well, and you kind of hit the nail on the head with time blocking.
Mm-hmm.
There's different terminology for it, but you really have to have a good sense of time management. And it's funny because I talk to the agents about this in our accountability meetings. I meet with the agents once a week, and sometimes I think they don't believe me. But when I first got into the business, I built the business on calling expireds, cancels, and withdrawals and FSBOs.
Okay.
And I'm not kidding you. For the first 4 months I was in the business, I did nothing but learn my scripts, and I made phone calls almost probably 6-8 hours a day.
Wow.
Which is pretty intense.
Most a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
They're not. And really, the phone, the phone is your best friend. Without a doubt. And I know it sounds old school, and it's, again, these shiny objects. You get it on Facebook, you get it in your emails. Don't cold call. You don't need to cold. Well, guess what? You know what?
It still works.
This is a people business.
Yeah.
And you got to talk to people.
Right.
So, my, I guess, biggest piece of advice would be to try to make 20 contacts a day. If you can make 20 contacts a day and then follow up with those 20 contacts a day, you're building your database, and that's how you're going to build your business. Whether you're working with buyers. And, at first I used to be pretty hardcore about, just lead generation and cold calling. And, I recognize now, as I'm maturing in the industry and becoming more successful, there's different ways to prospect. I've got one agent on my team. All she does is open houses.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
She just open houses. And guess what? She makes more contacts than any other agent on our team.
Yeah. She focuses on it, sounds like.
She does.
Yeah.
And she does very well.
We just had an episode a few minutes ago with Lindsay Hernandez, and we talked about the power of focus in there. Yeah. Because I think what you just brought up is a critical point, that because there's so many shiny objects, right, that are out there, it's so easy for an agent who might not know yet what they want that one focus area to be distracted by so many things, and then they're not good at anything, right? Rather than just finding at least something that you can hang your hat on. And that, for you, it was cold calls, right? Yeah. Like, you built your business through the cold calling method. There's agents that would tell you that they did it a completely different way, right? But the point is like, what's your strategy that you can hang your hat on and that will lead you to be interviewed as a real producer, right, one day, whether that's open houses, cold calling, social media, because there are more than one way to get there.
Absolutely.
Right? But I think that's a tip and a habit that some people just completely screw up because they just get too spread thin and they don't ever really get good at anything.
Right.
Specifically, and I think that can make a big impact.
And it's all about the contacts.
Yeah, and I love the 20 a day you mentioned. I think it's a great tip.
And a lot of newer agents, they're going to think, my gosh, I can't do that, but you can.
Yeah.
And I did it, when I first started out, and this is back in 2018, and actually the market back in 2018 is very similar to where we're at today.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of come full circle a little bit. And I mean, I didn't take my first listing, and I was focusing on listings because I've been in sales, so that was kind of my niche, and I didn't have a problem telling a seller that they were crazy on their price and needed to be at this. So I'm pretty transparent when it comes to that, and my wife would say I probably lose some listings by being that way, but at the end of the day,
you get the ones you should have, though.
Yeah, and so I mean, I've grown a lot more particular on what I'm willing to take. But I took 43 listings my first year, and my agents are like, "Well, how'd you do that?" And it's like, I didn't know any better.
Right.
Nobody told me that I couldn't do it.
Right.
Right. And I know, I've heard stories of agents taking 100 listings their first year.
Yeah.
Why? Because they didn't know any better. They
Just
didn't have
create
any
your own
bad
expectations.
habits. And, I'm just a huge proponent of lead gen, and doing it every day, consistently.
Do you still cold call?
I do. Not as much as I have in the past.
Yeah.
And actually, my coach has gotten on my butt about that. And he...
Any good coach would, I guess.
Yeah, and it's funny because he really made a good comment to me on Tuesdays when I had my calls with him, and he said, "You know what? You sound like one of your agents."
Oh, no.
Yeah,
he knew how to really dig that knife, huh?
Yeah. And again, you get pulled in so many directions, and as a team lead, I've got a lot of responsibility, but again, I'm not at the point where I can just walk away from production.
Yeah.
I'm right now, I'm in the process of kind of tipping the scales a little bit, and I can tell you, like, this first part of the year has been awesome. Yeah. It's just been absolutely awesome because I love seeing the agents get into production, and they're starting to do deals, and they're starting to do more than one deal a month or two deals a month. They're shooting for 5 deals, 6 deals a month.
Yep.
And it's exciting to see that, and that's why I do it.
Yeah. No, I can relate. I have a solar team as well that I coach for and consult, and it's cool to just see these guys progress, right? Yeah. I think there's a lot of, my background is in building 1099 based sales teams with a different industry, and then I've done that for almost 25 years now. And so that there's something to a certain mentality of being a servant leader where it actually makes me feel better to watch somebody I coached hit a certain milestone than if I personally do it, right. Myself. I'm curious though, with your, experience as a team leader now, how do you determine, Bill, like when leads come in, what you personally handle versus what you would get if you provide leads, I guess, to the team, or do you just teach the team to self-generate? Is that generally the approach?
So I would say we're considered a hybrid team. We probably give the agents about maybe 40% of their leads, okay. And then I expect them to self-generate around 60%. Okay. And I tell them from the get-go, the best leads you're ever going to get are the ones you self-generate, because that's
of course
coming from your SOI or sphere of influence or people that you knew from a different industry or whatever.
Yep.
Those are people that you've built relationship with from the get-go.
Yep. It's
not something coming in from Realtor.com or Zillow that, you're basically doing a cold call.
Yep.
And, guess what? You better do a really good job. Otherwise, you're not going to convert them.
Yep.
Somebody else will. So, and I don't cherry pick at all. We used to do a round robin, and it was very time consuming for Teresa and I because we're running the back end stuff on the lead distribution. But now since we got Follow Up Boss, we basically have it set up on, first to take. So it gets shot out to all the agents at the same time, and first one to grab it grabs it.
Oh, wow.
Now I do it with the caveat, and I have the conversation with the team. Look, don't be taking a lead just to take a lead.
Right.
If you can't legit call that person within 2 minutes, because that's my metric.
Yep.
Is if you can't call them in 2 minutes, don't take the lead.
Makes sense.
I want somebody who's able to actually service that client, because again, that's what our mission statement is. It's not about us; it's about the client. And it was very interesting because we went to Phoenix last year. I think it was in October for one of Tom Ferry's seminars. It was called Blueprint. It was the very last blueprint that he's ever done.
Okay.
So we got to experience that. But he started the whole thing off with saying that 1,000 is the new 100. And we're like, well, what does that mean? He's like, 1,000 agents is the new 100. 1 billion is the new 100 million, which is production. Mm-hmm. 1 billion in production is the new 100 million. Mm-hmm. So it's like, wow.
1 billion.
That's
a big
just
number.
even think on that scale, but, and one of his mantras is, tell me what your goal is and add another 0 to it, So it's just, we call it the Tom Ferry ecosystem because it's what it is. It's very much like-minded agents and brokers that are in the industry that have just kind of taken that and like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. We actually could do that.
A big fan of thinking big. Billion's a big number.
It is.
That's a big
It's
number.
a huge number.
And I think it's interesting though, like when you do start thinking that way, you tend to come up with different solutions, right? Than you would have if that never was even entertained in the beginning. And I think that's really what leadership is about, especially as a team leader, is can you get your people to think different, right? Than they've already thought, in a way that's going to really make a difference in their bottom line, right? And it really does start, I think, most of the time with just challenging them to get out of a comfort zone, right? Because it's so easy in any business for people to get caught up in their comfort zone and just going through the motions if they've been around for a while, especially if they've been successful in a comfort zone. That it's even harder sometimes to get that person, to move. And so it's cool that you bring that up. I think it really, speaks to the reality that for anybody who's listening to this, and there's real producers that are going to hear this episode too, that have done really well, probably for many years, right? In a row.
Right.
But are you really maxing out your potential?
That's all.
Right. With what you have, that's what it's all about.
That's it. I mean, what are you capable of?
Right.
Right. Yeah, you might be comfortable, but you're capable of so much more,
Yep.
and you don't even know it.
Yep.
And it's funny because Berkshire's one of their core philosophies is ninja selling. I don't know if you've ever read Ninja Selling or not.
I haven't read the book, but I've heard it.
But one of the things that they are really huge proponents of is doing affirmations and stuff like that. And I remember, and we talk about it all the time with the team. When Teresa and I first started, we started doing affirmations because my broker at that time, he was huge on it, and he gave me a notebook and he said, this is what you're going to do your daily affirmations on. So I do them every day. First thing, and then I get into it. But I remember my first affirmation was, I enjoy earning $25,000 per month or more.
I love it.
And I'll be gosh.
You hit it.
Within, 4 months or so, we were doing those kinds of numbers. And, you just think about that, and it's like, man, before that, I never thought that I was capable.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of tell you a real quick story. One of the reasons why I got out of the boat business is the guy that I was working with, he wanted me to take on a more, more responsible role with the organization. And he asked me what it would take. And I'll never forget this. I wrote down $65,000 on a napkin, and I slid it over to him. And he said, oh, no, I can't pay you that much.
Wow.
And I was like, and I think back on that, and I'm like, wow, I was really stupid.
Yeah. Thank God he didn't, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine if he did, what would be different in your life today?
I know. And it's, that's the thing is this business, it really, it really, and, I guess really any type of sales business, not just real estate, but any type of sales business, people are capable of so much more than what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I'm always constantly reading. We're actually implementing the 12-week year. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah. So that's been, again, we're making all these changes like at the beginning of this year. So it's been a little stressful, and trying to get everybody to buy into it. But it makes sense, because there's always that October, November, December push. And okay, why not have that 4 times a year?
I love it. Yeah, I think that 12-week year is a great system.
And it's a sense of urgency.
Yeah,
it really is. And I think every business owner or anybody in sales, you have to have a continual sense of urgency.
Absolutely. So affirmations, by the way, that you mentioned, I actually know personally a friend. His name is Hal Elrod. He wrote the book The Miracle Morning, if you've ever heard of that before. It's now sold millions of copies. I actually used to work with him. Cool. In my previous business, my Cutco knife selling business is how I learned sales when I was 19. And he was one of the top sales guys in the company at the time. And he went on to write that book and build a whole millionaire mind community now. Built on this miracle morning. But affirmations is a big part of his morning process, and that's where I also learned a lot of that. So similar to what you said, it's part of my morning routine as well, implementing a series of affirmations that get me to think. And it is funny how you really have to be intentional about the fact that our brain is a computer, right?
Yeah.
And it's about reprogramming the subconscious mind to think in a way that is outside of its normal patterns, right? And that's really what affirmations is doing. is there's a literal connection between the spoken word and the way our brain works, right? And that connection, you're setting off fiber optic connections every time you make a statement. And if the language that you use is constantly negative, and I talked to Lindsay just about this, about the agents out there who complain a lot, right? And what that does to what they don't even realize it's doing to their ability to not be a top producer and to perform, because the more you complain, the more crap you get in your life, right? Yeah. Versus the opposite of giving yourself positive affirmations. You literally are reprogramming your brain to start believing that those things are possible, as you've already said. And it really is a critical habit that changes people's lives, over time. It's just a matter of time. Yeah.
It's amazing. And I'm continuously, if you ask my wife, I probably talk about mindset every single day.
Yeah, really, but as a leader, I think it's the most important thing.
And you know what? I have to remind myself,
of course,
every single day.
Right.
Because I'll be honest with you, the past couple weeks have been pretty stressful for me, and it's so easy to get into that victim mentality, and it's, oh, woe is me, why is this crap happening? Well, guess what? It's going to pass, and you're probably making more of a big deal out of it than you need to. Right. Which is usually the case anyways. Right.
What's it your mom used to say? Don't make a mountain out of a molehill?
Yeah. So, and that's just
some wisdom in that quote.
That's just business, it's you're gonna have good days and bad days. You just it's what you do with them, What do you do with what you're dealt? Are you gonna get up or are you gonna whine about it? So,
I've been in 2019. I attended 4 different Tony Robbins events that year. And a lot of his philosophy, he's really like a highly trained psychologist is what he is. Right. If you have never experienced his work, some people just view him with very high energy, which he is as well. Right. And they think he's a hype man, right? And I actually viewed him that way. I thought he was just a hype man from a distance, as I saw him on various things. But when I actually attended one of his events, I realized pretty quickly how much method there was behind the madness, so to speak. And it was really about in-depth psychological rewiring of your belief systems, right? And the energy he uses is for a purpose. He knows that you actually learn faster when you're at a peak state, would be his words, energy-wise. If you can get yourself in a peak state, you learn differently, right? Yeah. And it's helping you get out of certain patterns that we all have, right? We're all programmed with our minds. And, it really was an eye-opener for me. And like I said, I went through 4 of his events that year, and it's made massive differences in my business, my personal life, and, the habits that I've developed. And as you've said, like, real estate is a people game. So I think it's first investing in yourself, right? Figuring out whether it's a Tony Robbins event, whether it's a great book, whether it's Tom Ferry coaching programs, like something that's going to get you out of the habits that might not be serving you right now, and then finding a way to usually surround yourself with some people who support you. And that might be a great team, and I think if you are looking for a team, that's got to be something you look for.
Oh, yeah.
And who you'd want to, you mentioned culture as one of your 4 steps.
Yeah.
That's the culture you want, right? In my opinion, right. If your goal is to be a real producer in real estate, so we're going to be running out of time, but I want to talk a little bit about you for people who don't know you, personally, just so that they can learn a little bit more about you, even on the personal side. So you're married to Teresa. Yep. You have children?
No kids. We're dinks. 21 years. We just celebrated our 21st anniversary.
Congratulations. Thank you. Very exciting. Now, did you not want kids from the get-go? Was that the strategy?
We tried, and because we didn't get married until we were in our 30s. Okay. So when we, found out, it's probably not going to happen, then we just sprayed on it, and we were like, you know what, we're okay with this. Yeah. And it was kind of cool because, like, all of our friends that were having kids, we were just kind of able to look, and say, yeah, I'm glad. we're going on vacation.
You're speaking to a man with 5 kids, so I'm on the opposite side of that extreme.
I get it.
I can't imagine the freedom that you have in your life.
Yeah. So we, that's one of the things we kind of live vicariously through our nieces and nephews. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you guys love to do for fun?
So as I mentioned, we live on the water, so we go boating, fishing. We have motorcycles, so we like our wind therapy, and we enjoy travel. Like we went out to Vegas for our anniversary. We were there for a week, and it was cold.
Recently?
Yeah, it snowed.
Wow.
It was snowing in Vegas.
Yeah, you don't hear that up very often.
No, but we had fun. You know, we make the best of it. So we like to go on cruises. We like
Do you have a favorite place to travel? Favorite place to go? A go-to?
So my go-to is probably St. Martin. That's
Nice.
We love St. Martin. We've been there several times. We're actually going there again in June.
Very cool.
The Caribbean, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao. We've been,
Do you usually do it as a cruise, or do you just go directly there?
Well, oddly enough, we do cruise, but we bought a timeshare back in the 90s, I think, and we paid $1 for it on eBay. So we've used that thing to the hilt.
Oh, they're cool.
So we traded out, and we've been to the Caymans. We've been, just all over the world, really. We've gone to Hawaii.
Yep.
It's
one of the things that you probably noticed that we feature in the magazine are these Making a Difference sections, which are generally nonprofit affiliations. Is there any in particular cause that is important to you?
Well, we do an event every year. It's our annual give back. Teresa and I actually started a 501c3. It's called Yingling Gives Sunshine.
Nice.
And the first year, what we do is we donate a portion of the commission from the sale of a home to a nonprofit. And the first year we did, it was Sunshine Kids, which is, the cancer, the children with cancer. It just helps them out,
absolutely.
helps their families out. Last year we did Metropolitan Ministries.
Great organization.
And
we've featured them in the past as well.
yes, they're awesome. Leona, my wife's actually the ambassador we're one of the ambassadors for Pasco. So she loves it. She volunteers there on a monthly basis. But I'm going through Leadership Pasco right now. And one of the things that we do is we do a class project every year. So this year, our class project is, I'll just kind of read this to you. It's a clay shoot at Tampa Bay Sporting Clays.
Cool.
And it's benefiting Sunrise of Pasco. Sunrise is they create an environment for domestic abuse victims. Most domestic abuse shelters do not allow them to bring their pets. Mm-hmm. So we're actually building a pet shelter for them to be able to bring their pets. So it's pretty cool. And that's on May the 5th. That's going to be out at Sporting Clays. And so we decided to be, one of the title sponsors on that. Because I was thinking about it. Because Met Men is a fantastic organization. We love them. But they're pretty darn well funded, too.
Yeah.
As are, some of the other nonprofits, not taking anything away from them at all. We're still going to do something with Met Men because that's where our passion is.
Sure.
But, I saw this and it kind of hit home. It was like, wow, that's
cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a need there that you can help solve.
Yeah, so we're all about that. And then Berkshire as a company is very involved with Sunshine Kids and Met Men. So what we do usually is we'll do like a community open house, and we'll get sponsors tied into it, and then we do food donations, clothing donations for Met Men. And we've done that every year for the past 3 years.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that. With Real Producers, we work a lot with Hope Children's Home over in Odessa. A lot of the events that we've put on, there's usually a portion of like anything that is sponsorship money raised or ticket sales goes towards Hope Children's Home.
Right.
And similar stories behind some heartbreaking stories that the kids have gone through that are there. But I think this organization does a great job at really just trying to provide stability in these kids' lives. So it's been cool to see that. But appreciate you sharing that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to do a quick little rapid fire on a couple personal questions, and then we'll end with our legacy question. All right? That's the one that I think we like to end with. So just rapid fire. Favorite food?
Steak.
Ooh, that's where the heart thing comes from, huh?
Yeah.
Now it's making sense. You have a very it seems like a very low-key personality, Bill. So like the idea when you think of people who had a heart attack, sometimes you think of these high-wired, high energy and kind of maybe even angry type personalities.
Right.
I don't get that vibe from you at all. I get more of a level-headed type guy. But I think the steak probably plays a role in that a little bit, huh?
It does, yeah.
Yes, I get it.
Like
Makes
my
sense.
steak.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie, probably Platoon.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
That's a classic. Okay. Favorite book or author or seminar even that you think has made the biggest impact on your life personally or your business?
I would say my favorite book is probably Start With Why.
Simon Sinek?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess another one, and it's going to sound kind of weird, but Steve Harvey Jump.
Oh,
If you
I
ever
haven't read it.
that.
Is that his story?
Well, yeah, it is, and Google it. Google Steve Harvey Jump. And,
I know he has a really cool story. I've heard
Yeah.
him talk about it a little bit on one of the podcasts or something.
But he did this thing when, like, he was filming Family Feud or something.
Yeah.
And he just kind of went off script and started talking, about how you got to take a risk. You got to jump.
Yeah,
Sometimes parachute's not going to open.
totally. I love that.
Yeah, so.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, so how many people miss out on what we were talking about potential earlier, right?
Right.
How many people miss out because they're not willing to take that jump?
Yeah.
That's a great point. I love it. All right, man. You ready? We'll end with this.
I'm ready.
So you might have heard me ask this earlier, but sometimes we go through the motions and the daily cycles of what we do for business and in life, and we might not take time to actually ponder what we'd want our legacy to be, right? And at some point, we all come to meet our maker, I would say. And so when you think about your legacy and what you'd want to be remembered or known for, what comes to mind?
Oh, wow. That's almost like, what do you want written on your tombstone? No, and it's I think about that a lot because we don't have any kids.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get my nieces and nephews involved in this business if they want to. I want to offer them that opportunity, and I want to offer that, for them to experience what we've been able to experience. But as far as legacy goes, I think Teresa and I, we just want to be known for really, just really caring about people and the agents that we're affiliated with, and what can we do on a daily basis to have a positive impact on someone's life, and those are aha moments, and I try to do that to the people that have made impact in my life.
Yeah.
Like every once in a while I'll call them and I'll just say, hey, look, I just want to let you know you had a big impact in my life.
Yeah.
And you really helped me, get to where I'm at today. So I just hope, I would like one day for somebody to, and not that I don't get it, every once in a while, but I just want to be known as that person, that's what I'm all about. I want to be able to make an impact in your life and help you become the person that you're capable of being.
That's cool, man. I love it.
Thanks.
Those of you who have had mentors in your life, don't forget to reach out to them and thank them every now and again, right? Because it's funny you brought that up. I have some mentors that really have shaped my life in certain ways, and I do reach out every now and again just to make sure that they're aware of that. And
Yep.
I have a couple people that I know I've had a role in how they've developed in their careers who do that with me. And it always makes you feel good, right? When you get that reach out. So don't hesitate to do it if it ever crosses your mind when you think of somebody who made an impact. Send them the text, right? Give them the phone call. But Bill, it was a pleasure, man. I really enjoyed you here today. I thought we dove into a lot of great stuff.
Likewise.
About team building, about habits, about how to think, about mentality, all kinds of good content that I hope helps people, which is really our objective too, right? Absolutely. With Real Producers. Again, this is the podcast made for people who are real producers, who want to be real producers, put together by real producers. And you can find it at tampabayrealproducers.com. We have our podcast link at the top. And if you don't already follow us on YouTube, you can subscribe there to make sure you're notified every time we have a new episode drop, which is done weekly on Fridays. So, Bill, thank you again for being here. Check us out online, guys, and we will catch you on the next episode coming at you. Stay classy, Tampa Bay. We'll talk to you later.